Welcome to the latest installment of Heroes and Legends. Our spotlight in this episode is on DC's Steel. Now, many of us are familiar with this superhero as he made his first appearance in The Adventures of Superman number 500, dealing with the events surrounding Superman's death as he goes up against the one and only Doomsday. We know how all that unfolds with Superman meeting his demise, and as he dies and the world mourns, four heroes, supposed heroes, emerge, and one of those is Steel. Now, as we understand who Steel is, he is John Henry Irons, a genius inventor who has created a suit of steel that is possibly contains organic steel, actually, is able to manipulate that to project itself, to protect others, kind of a liquid superpower steel. He's got an armed suit, rocket boots for flight, weaponized self-propelled hammer using kinetic energy. All of this we see come from his mind, and then later we see the inspiration he gets from Superman himself. Now, John Henry Irons, I should say, of course, gets his name from the American folk hero John Henry, and in fact, as he wields that hammer, it draws back to the old days of the John Henry narrative. There on the railroad, John Henry was hired as a steel driver for the railroad. And as the old legend says, that he had to go up against a steam driver, and in this competition it was to show man versus machine, and wondering who would come out on top. The strongest, the fastest, most powerful man of John Henry stepped up to the plate to prove that a man could drill a hole faster and farther through rock than a steam drill. So what does he do? Using two 10-pound hammers, one in each hand, he digs through the rock, creating a hole, and he dives with the hammer in his hand, creating this folk hero that not only would go on to impact American history, but also help shape this comic book hero of John Henry Irons. Now, John Henry Irons, I'm getting tongue-tied here, would use his technology to advance different forefronts of weaponry and things of that nature. But it wasn't long the company he worked for, Ameritech, began to misuse that and try to distort what his purposes were for this technology. So he decided to drop off the radar and destroyed his notes, and he moved to Metropolis. Obviously, that's a place we're familiar with as we understand the DC world. And there in Metropolis, he takes up a job as a construction worker. And one day, as he's working, he falls from the construction site, thinking he's going to fall to his death. But it's there that he meets Superman, and Superman saves his life. And as you can see here in these comics, we can tell that John Henry realizes that Superman indeed is his savior, and he owes him his life. And Superman just quickly quips back, live a life worth living, make it count for something. And I knew then, he says, that I need to repay him. So he begins to rethink his technology and dives back into building a suit to go up against whatever forces may present themselves to make his life worth living. As he begins to understand his new identity, we see how things unfold. As we've noted earlier, as Superman has to go up against Doomsday. As they battle it out, John Henry understands that his hero, his inspiration, is not winning. He's losing. In fact, he rallies to the cause and grabs a sledgehammer and seeks to help out Superman. But before he can do that, he's buried under some rubble. And as things play out, we understand Superman to be dead. And John Henry Irons then has a mission. avenge, to step in and be that hero that the world needs, and understands that he's got to stop Doomsday. And he takes upon the new suit of steel, wearing the iconic S and donning a red cape in honor of his hero. But he's not the only hero that emerges in this vacuum of this hero that's left behind. There's 3 others that step up. Of course, we have Steel, and then we have Cyborg, also known as Hank Henshaw, former astronaut, tragedy turned bad, who then leans on to Lex to help him make his way and seek revenge against Superman, who he thinks causes a solar flare that brings about his wife's death and obviously his mutation. Another hero that appears, apparent hero, is Superboy, also known as Con-El, part Superman, part Lex Luthor, fused together, made there in the Cadmus Labs. He steps up in a desire to seek to fill the hole as well. And then you've got the Eradicator, the Kryptonian AI super weapon. All 4 of these show up on the scene, all 4 of them seeking to fill the hole that is left by Superman. Debate can be said about which ones are the most valiant and the noble purposes, obviously that leaning towards Steel. And then we'll see that Superboy a little bit later redeems himself and joins up with Robin, Tim Drake, and becomes part of the Young Justice and such. But Hank Henshaw, Cyborg, and Eradicator, we both see to be villains as those things play out. Well, once Superman returns, and obviously we're familiar with that story. If not, I encourage you to dive a little bit deeper. He kind of sets the record straight, and he and Steel become fast friends and work in conjunction with each other. See Superman rocking the long hair at this point. Steel is his partner, if you will. Again, kind of reclaiming things. Well, since Steel is on the main scene, obviously DC gives him his own run of the comics, starting with number 1 there. In the pages of Superman, we have Steel, Reign of Tomorrow. This runs for a few years. We get to track his adventures, and obviously there's connections to Superman and others throughout his tenure. But then we see he kind of, from there, goes into some of the media. As he showed up on the scene, there's a great opportunity for him to be in some of the cartoons, among other things, and those things play out. But as his storylines develop, we see that he takes his niece and mentors her, Nastasha, and she becomes the next Steel. You see her there, and some of this design here and unique perspective that she has. She becomes a member of the Titans. Later we see Irons actually gets involved with Lana Lang, Superman's, I guess you could say, old fling from Smallville, and aids her when she briefly becomes known as Superwoman. So he has some interaction with the Super family, if you will, the Superwoman and such. As things develop, and Steel Comics makes a run from 1994 to 98, so a 4 short year run. But that doesn't mean it drops off the face of the earth. And many of us are familiar with Steel. We see him in different ways. As we look in the media, we see in 1997 he gets his own movie with Shaq. That's right, Shaquille O'Neal, the movie star, gets his start as Steel, donning the suit there and seeking to be that superhero. Not a great movie. I remember watching it and being like, okay, this stinks. But it was neat to see the character come off the comic book page and come to life. We see throughout the years he has other appearances, anything from Superman the animated series to Justice League Unlimited, to Justice League New Frontier, Justice League Gods and Monsters, the death of Superman, which was obviously a animated version of the storyline when she appeared in DC Comics, The Reign of Superman, again those same lines. And then most recently in the CW show, Superman and Lois, we have him show up, and there's he's from a different multiverse or different universe, different Earth, and originally shows up, and some think he's Lex, and there's some things to play out there. Spoiler alert there, but we see him become allies with Superman and Lois, and helping their sons out. Now, when we get to the collecting, some of the different things with Steel, one of the first figures that we see is from 1995, a Kenner collection, the Superman Man of Steel. I remember having this actually in my collection. In fact, it may still somewhere be hanging around, honestly, and some of my boys' stuff and some of the different things they have. But a super cool figure. You know, as you can see, this is probably about a 4-inch figure or so. And neat. It's got some action movement there with his steel hammer. Comes with a collector's card. I wish I still had that card, but that is long gone. And then in conjunction with a movie, the 1997 movie with Shaquille O'Neal Steel, there's a series of toys that came out. There's multiple versions of Steel. You see just a couple of them here. You know, the armor up Steel, and then the more, I guess you could say, the basic assortment figure, kind of a close-up of the bubble Steel, aka John Henry Irons. I think it'd be kind of cool if it had a basketball in there, but that's a little bit of a stretch, I guess. So yeah, that's based like on the movie. And then in 1998, the JLA line. I remember going all over the place trying to find this line and complete this run, but they came out with a Steel as well. He was a little different than some of the others in that line. You know, of course, he's a muscular figure, but some of the other ones had more muscular, almost like strained poses, and I feel like their hands and their just the way they stood, almost all of them are uniform, except obviously for the colors and who they were. But we've got the Justice League line, or the JLA line. And then in 2004, DC Direct started a line, which is a really cool line. I remember when this came out, Return of Superman. Return of Superman. So you have the Steel, and these are the others that were in that set, obviously with the Eradicator, Cyborg, Hank Henshaw, Connell, or Superboy. Really cool line. Honestly, I wish I'd grabbed all of them when they first came out back in 2004. I remember them being in a comic book shop near my office, and I'd go in there and I was like, oh man, they're so cool, I don't know if I want to get them. Before I knew it, they were gone. And now good luck trying to get these guys. They're on the secondary market on eBay. I mean, these are super expensive. That Eradicator and Cyborg. Cyborg's hard to find. There's been other versions of him. In fact, I've got one, but it's not that one. But this is a really sweet collection. If you can, get a hold of any of these pieces, good luck to you. In 2006, we see the DC Superheroes, the Justice League Unlimited, kind of reflecting his appearance there in that cartoon, or at least the action figure Mattel did. And real basic here, no cape, no Superman insignia, but this is kind of how he appeared in the animated series. So these are the a little bit smaller figures, probably about 3 3/4, maybe a little bigger, somewhere in that range. 2007, we have the Mattel DC Superheroes. This is a really cool line. I actually have this one in my collection. This is a pricey one as well, even loose, and you can find it online. But it's a really sweet figure. I like this one. He's more slimmed down, not quite as bulky as you saw in the earlier DC Direct Return of Superman figure. Then in 2007, that same year, DC Direct put out a Steel version of John Henry Irons' niece, Nastasha. So here she is, the female version, Steel, coming from the Batman and Superman Public Enemies #2 series. Really neat figure, and it's hard to tell from the packaging and even the image you have there, but she's got this kind of a long, almost like a tail that comes off the back of her head, and then the mask that covers her up. So Pretty awesome. This next one I'm really crazy about. This is the 2014 Total Heroes steel. I never saw this one. I'd love to see it and add it to the collection, but this is a cool figure as well. Kind of see he's got his hammer there and everything, and I like the chrome look to it. But I never saw these guys, and maybe you did. Maybe you've got him in your collection. So, but this is just a quick glance at Steel, DC superhero. From his origins to where he's showed up in the other media outside of the comic books, and then a little bit of collecting. So hopefully this has been fun for you to listen to and kind of hear a little bit about him. I know most of our guys, Adam and Steve, have been hitting the Marvel guys. We got to throw some DC love. No, it's probably not as good as those guys. Those guys are a wealth of knowledge, but just wanted to dive into some DC waters and touch on a little bit of Superman connections. So, all right, gang, well, it's great to be hanging out with you guys this evening, and stay good, stay safe. Hope to see you again soon on Heroes of Legends and in the Gulliverse.